History tells us that Christopher Columbus discovered the New World in 1492. It's a date written in every textbook, a story we all think we know. 500 years earlier, a world away from the royal courts and scheming popes of Europe, another people crossed the great ocean. Their ships were dragons, and their spirit was restless. In our history, they landed on the shores of a vast untamed continent. But in this timeline, they stayed. And that single decision would not just change America, it would forge a new one entirely. Around the year 1000, the Viking Age was at its peak. Led by the legendary explorer Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red, Norse ships sailed west from their colonies in Greenland. They landed in a place of sprawling forests, wild grapes, and rushing rivers. They called it Vinland. For decades, this was just a saga, a myth. But then, archaeologists unearthed the remains of a Norse settlement at Lanso Meadows in modern-day Newfoundland. The stories were real. But reality was harsh. In our timeline, the colony was a failure. The reasons were brutal and simple. They were overwhelmed by hostile native tribes whom they called Skraelings. They were crippled by a supply line stretching thousands of miles across a freezing, treacherous ocean. And finally, they were fighting the planet itself as the climate began to cool in what we now call the Little Ice Age. Within a few decades, they were gone, leaving behind only a handful of ruins and a ghost of a story, a whisper of what could have been. But here, our timeline fractures. The year is 1010. A Norse leader named Thorfinn Karlsefni faces a crisis. A trade has gone wrong. Tensions with the local Mi'kmaq tribe are at a breaking point. A battle is imminent. In our history, the fighting that follows drives a wedge between the two peoples. But in this timeline, Karlsefni makes a different choice. He sees that victory in one battle means 1,000 more to come. He lowers his hand. He offers a piece of iron, not as a weapon, but as a gift. And in that moment of quiet, heavy tension, the world splits in two. The first exchange is not of culture, but of catastrophe. The Great Dying arrives 5 centuries early. Norse settlers, carrying generations of immunity, unknowingly release old-world diseases, smallpox, measles, into a population with no defense. The effect is devastating. Entire villages vanish. But unlike the explosive pandemic of Columbus's time, this is a slow burn, not an inferno. It creeps along trade routes over centuries. And while many tribes are shattered, others, through sheer chance and isolation, survive. Over generations, a fragile resistance begins to grow in their blood. In return, the Norse receive the key to the continent. Knowledge. How to grow native crops, maize, squash, beans. How to survive the punishing winters. The price of this knowledge is immense. But it anchors them to the new land. It allows them to stay. And with survival comes transformation. The true power of the Norse is not their longships, but their forges. Iron revolutionizes everything. An axe that can fell a tree in minutes. A nail that can build a permanent home. Arrowheads that can pierce thick hide. Tribes that ally with the Norse gain a technological advantage that is absolute. Soon, the most ambitious gift arrives: the horse. On the vast plains of the interior, the horse transforms hunting, travel, and warfare. And as they trade goods, they trade blood. The Norse intermarry with their native allies. A new people are born, no longer just Norse, not just Micmac or Beothuk. They are Vinlanders. Their beliefs are a fusion of the old gods, Odin and Thor, worshipped alongside the spirits of the forest. Their language is a Creole of Old Norse and Algonquin. Their faces carry the story of two worlds combined.
Fast forward to the eve of Columbus's voyage.
The map of North America is unrecognizable. The Vinlandic Confederacy is a formidable maritime power, its territory stretching from the coasts of Labrador down through the St. Lawrence River. But they are not alone. The knowledge of ironworking and the use of horses have spread. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy to the south is stronger, more centralized, their chiefs signing treaties written in a modified runic alphabet. Further inland, Mississippian city-states are larger, their walls higher. The continent is no longer a mosaic of isolated tribes. It is a cauldron of rising nations, of shifting alliances and simmering conflicts. So, when a Genoese captain named Christopher Columbus finally does arrive, he doesn't find a world to conquer. He finds a navy. His 3 small caravels are met by sleek Vinlandic dragon ships, their raven banners snapping in the wind. He expects to be treated as a god. He is treated as a rival. The age of European colonization is strangled in its cradle. It becomes an age of diplomacy, of espionage, and of war. And so today, on June 16th, 2025, the world looks very different. The history of North America has become as complex and tangled as Europe's own. The political maneuvering between the Republic of Vinland and the Haudenosaunee Federation would make the history of the old Lithuanian-Polish Commonwealth seem straightforward. The great city of Hraffensvik stands where Montreal should be. The language of modern Quebec is not French, but a living dialect of Old Norse. The great American experiment as we know it never happened. It is staggering to think that a single choice, the simple decision to trade instead of fight, didn't just save a small, starving colony. It reforged an entire continent, altering the destiny of millions. Would this new world be a better one, or just one with different borders, different flags, and different wars? Thank you for joining us on this exploration. If you found this scenario interesting, a like is always deeply appreciated. To see where our timeline takes us next, please consider subscribing.